Well, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the fifth meet of the New South Wales Milers Series here at Crest Athletics Track. Exciting program ahead of us this evening with some steeplechase events, as well as the 800 and 1500 metre traditional events at Milers, and in the field we've also got the pole vault and the triple jump. The meet being conducted under World Athletics Challenger Series rules here this evening. And so some additional requirements for the triple jump in particular. If you're a track athlete and you are due to run in the 2000 metre steeplechase and the boys starting at 6:50, you should be down near the start area now and having a look at the timetable for this evening. You'll see that we've got the steeplechase getting underway at 10 to 7. And there'll be three steeplechase races at 10 to 7, 5 past 7 and 20 past 7. We'll then be into the graded 1500 metre races and then the 800s with the 1500s, the A race 800s and the A race 1500s getting underway at 8:41. So that's the timetable for this evening's events. Sorry, for those playing along home, we've just had a late change to the timetable. The steeplechase races, the junior boys and the junior girls events will now be combined at 20 past 7. And the first event on the track will be the 5 past 7 men's 2000 metre steeplechase at 84 centimetres for the junior boys and the masters men. And then we'll have a combined 76 centimetre steeple race at 7:20, which will be the boys 2000 metre steeple and women's 2000 metre steeple combined with the one entrant in the women's 3000 metre open steeplechase, which we call the Hills. So the first track race due to get underway at 5 past 7. In the meantime, I will watch the action down at the pole vault, still in the warm-up phase, as well as just getting ready down at the triple jump, and that first event will get underway at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I got my This is the double one. I think the one I get
So for those just joining the stream, we've got a slight change to the program here. As you see there on screen, we were due to have the men's 2K steeplechase race at 76 centimetres for the under 16s, get away at 10 to 7. That event has now been combined with the women's combined 2 and 3 kilometre steeple, which you see on the start list there at 20 past 7. And so that event will now be combined at 20 past 7. And our first race on the track will be at 7 p.m. With the 84 centimetre steeple. And we then have the men's long jump, the men's triple jump, sorry, that should be. Both of those events are triple jump. They are getting underway at 7 o'clock with the men and 8 o'clock at the women. There is also a pole vault event happening down there on the field, which they're just getting ready for, and that's what we've got on screen now, with the triple jump just getting ready to get underway as well. So they're just getting ready down at the start line for the first of our events on the track at 5 past 7. This will be a combined steeplechase event with the under 18 boys along with the Masters men. And from the inside out we have Idris Burkhardt of Cherrybrook in hip number 1, Brandon Cunningham of Scots in hip number 2, Ben Leonudzi of Sutherland in 3, Harrison Baxter of Nowra in 4, and Chandra Mindiansi of Cherrybrook in the Masters event in hip number 5. That's the start list for this combined steeplechase event. So it looks like we've just got one scratching from this field in the form of Brandon Cunningham. No, there he is in the Scots kit, so he'll join the line and we'll have a full contingent for this first event. So just getting organised down at the start now. So off they go at the second time of asking. Just a bit of unsteadiness there at the outset in the men's 2K steeple. This is a combined event with the under 18s and the masters going in the same event. And there's the start list once again on screen for those playing along at home. 4 entrants in the under 16, in the under 18s event, pardon me, with Burkhardt, Cunningham, Leonudzi and Baxter. And Mudiansi is our entrant in the Masters event for all of this being competed at the 84 centimetre height. Some good racing to come in the program this evening. The A800s and 1500s both with some strong entrants. We'll see Cam Musgrove and Tom March go around in the 800 for the A race in the men's. Oscar Percy, they were all at the New South Wales Open Championships on the weekend. So was Rob Dickinson. And the women's field, a strong one and headlined by Laura Roff, the former Australian 800 metre champion for Randwick, who also had a great run at the state championships on the weekend, running second to Georgia Wattle. And the 1500 has some strong names as well. Rachel McCormick leading the way in the women's, along with Erin Blundell, Claudia Meeker, Sienna Scahill, Amelia Sun. And in the men's event, that field likely to be headlined by the likes of Kane Shields, Lockie Townsend, Harry McGill and Thomas Moorcroft, with some pace work to be done there by Ben Bishop, who will try to take a bunch of the gentlemen under the 4-minute mark. So shaping up to be a good night of racing here on the track. We've also got the triple jump at the end of the field near the start-finish area, which will be competed under World Athletics Challenger meet conditions. Part of the Continental Tour, this meet. So in this junior boys steeple race, Idris Burkhardt of Cherrybrook has got himself to the front of the field. That's Harrison Baxter of Nowra just sitting in second position. Little gap back then to Leonazzi of Sutherland. And for the Scots College, Brandon Cunningham is just fading back, and he's about 50 metres or so off the back of Leonudzi. But as they swing into the straight now, also got a good shot there of Mudiansi on screen in the Masters event. A big push here, so this will be 2 laps to go. The steeplechase event with the inside water jump is 5 laps plus about 70 metres at the start of the lap, so just a little bit over 5 laps of the track with the inside water jump. And just a move there over at the water jump, the second to last time, with Harrison Baxter of Nowra shooting into the lead and getting around the shoulder of Idris Burkhardt. And still hanging around is Leonuzzi of Sutherland as well, as they come down to the line and pick up the bell. Running strongly here, on tempo for about 6:25 or thereabouts. A lot of these athletes will be chasing for Nationals qualifiers. So in the under 18s, we're looking for 6:40 for these boys. As the qualifier for Nationals. And as 6:01 ticks around the clock, we should be on track here to at least get Harrison Baxter there for Nowra as he navigates the last steeple. And he will be off to Brisbane for the Australian Championships as he comes through the line in about 6:22. Same for Idris Burkhardt. He's going to do enough to get under that 6:40 qualifying standard. And so too is Ben Leonuzzi of Sutherland. So all of the top three there through under the Nationals qualifying standard of 6:40. And into the straight now, we also have Brandon Cunningham of the Scots College at 6:55. And we still have Midiansi in the Masters event, who's just heading around the back straight now. And for those watching at home, we might swing over and have a look at the triple jump event and see how that's going. One of the Trinity athletes there on the runway at the triple jump. So we'll just have a look at the start list for this men's triple jump. We've got Teddy Hampton of Cherrybrook, and then comes a Trinity pair of Luca Ratienville and Indiana Murphy. There's also a third Trinity athlete there in the form of Cameron Pappas. Gum Maybor of Tigers is also on the start list, along with Julian Noel and Connor Murphy of Sydney University. So that's the start list for the men's triple jump. And that looks like Connor Murphy's first attempt, which is coming up a foul. And just a miss there at the pole vault for one of the Bankstown athletes. And Mudiensi is also coming into the straight in the men's Masters Steeplechase as he just navigates the final barrier. And Mudiensi will come over the line for Cherrybrook in just over 5-minute K pace, so 10:17 there for Mudiensi in the steeple. So we'll swing back around and have another look at the triple jump while we wait for the next of our track events to get underway, which is due in 2 or 3 minutes, and that will be a combined event of the junior boys and junior girls steeple at 2,000 metres. We've also got an entrant in the women's 3K event. Good clearance there at the pole vault for one of the Bankstown athletes. And one of the Trinity athletes on the runway. So they're just heading out for the steeple while we stay on the triple jump. One of the Trinity athletes on the runway there. So we'll just have a quick look at these start lists for this combined steeple event. As we mentioned, this will be a combined race with the men's 2 kilometre event and the women's combined 2 kilometre and 3 kilometre events. And that's the field there on screen for the combined women's 2 and 3K events. Holly Gerbash, the only entrant in the 3K event. So big field here, good opportunity for the girls to run with the boys as well in this mixed junior race. So just about right for a start now in this combined steeple event. So off they go now in this combined steeplechase event. And we'll run through the start lists now that they're underway. So in the men's under 16 2K event, we have Harrison Ferns of the Hills District, Kadeen Harrison of the Blue Mountains, Ethan Howard for Randwick Botany, Benjamin Prezanko of Ryde, Aston Lake of Run Crew. On his outside is Cameron Baxter of Nowra. Owen Dixon goes for Sydney Athletics Academy in hip number 7. Ben Westwood of Westfields. On his outside, Marcus Keys of the Scots College. William Litchfield, Sydney Athletics Academy, and Harry McGill is on the start list for Bankstown. Also entered the 1500 later tonight, so I can't see Harry there. I'm assuming he's going around the 1500. And then in the women's event, we have Matilda Richards of Run Crew, Ruby Fry of Randwick Botany, Kate Gayson of Kembla Joggers, Eloise Boys of Run Crew, Isabella Much of Westfields, Alana Roberts of Trinity, Zara McCoy of Sydney Athletics Academy, Isabella Baptist of Westfields, and in the 3,000 metre event, we have Holly Gerbash of Winston Hills visiting us from the nation's capital. So they're just heading up the back there. And I think that's Cameron Baxter of Nowra at the front of the field, just sitting in front of young Marcus Keys. Then comes one of the Sydney Athletics Academy athletes. It'll be Owen Dixon or William Litchfield. Just gonna make it out from here.
Got a drink, Luke? Water?
And just a shot there as well of one of the 2K. That would have been Holly Gerbash there on screen. So that's Harrison McGill. Leading things in hip number 11, I think. And then Marcus Keys of the Scots College sitting in second.
Just wanted some higher numbers, 18 and 19. Well, he didn't have them for this 1,500 metres, a lot of people. He only had up to 15.
Shit, I've done them all.
Well, he hand wrote it. He hand wrote it. And I think it needs to be like darker for the people to see. He's done a couple of handwritten signs.
So they're heading up the back now and coming up to the water jump for the second time. So just some changes here with the hip numbers with the combined event, making things a little bit difficult. But that looks like Holly Gerbash of Winston Hills in hip number 22. And just rounding her up in the boys 2K event from the Scots College is Marcus Keys. And just joining them is one of the Sydney Athletics Academy athletes. That'll be either Owen Dixon or William Litchfield. Just can't make that out from here. So just having a look at the ladies' race there. And that was just Isabella Baptist on screen for Westfields. But still sitting at the front of this field. Going through the bell with about 5:17 on the clock. So remember, this is the women's under 18 and men's under 16. So the nationals qualifiers we're looking for the under 16 for the men's is 6:50. So about 1 minute to go for our leaders. And a nice attack there at the final water jump. They swing into the straight with about 38 seconds on the clock to hit that nationals qualifier. Ethan Howard going to be thereabouts. So remember, 6:50 we're looking for the nationals qualifier, and this will be enough. So 6:30, and Ethan Howard going to come down and get under that nationals qualifying mark as well. Same for Marcus Keys. Same again for William Litchfield. And Aston Lake should just get under as well. And some of these athletes just going to miss out, but run very close. So all these athletes under 7 minutes. And a good finish there in the ladies' race. I think that's Matilda Richards of Run Crew that's come across the line. So we see there Ben Westwood. And this is Holly Gerbash in the 3K event. Nice finish there from Kate Geisen of Kembla. And Isabella Much of Westfields. Also Zara McCoy of Sydney Athletics Academy. And coming along the line there, Eloise Boys of Run Crew. So we'll just swing back around, have a look at the pole vault and the triple jump. As we have Holly Gerbash still out there in the women's 3K steeple. An attempt here at the pole vault. We'll turn around and have another go there. So just picking up the bell for Holly Gerbasher in 11:02 as we stay on this pole vault. And a good clearance at the pole vault. So Holly Gerbasher just coming down the straight as well to conclude the women's 3K steeple. And she comes over the line at about 12:38. So that will round out our steeplechase events for the evening. And we'll get in shortly to our 1500 metre events, kicking off with the men's 1500 metre sea race. So they just get themselves organised down at the triple jump. We'll show you the start list for the men's 1500 sea race. So Logan Hosking of the Blue Mountains, Keith Bateman of Athletics East, Saranja Yogareswaran of Kembla, Jacob Frankel of Randwick Botany, Tony Sinaboldi of Bankstown, Isaac Robinson of Hooked on Running on his outside, Charlie Colbert of St Ignatius College Riverview, York McManus of Sutherland, and then comes the Westfields pair of Shay Casillas and Xavier Howard. Then comes Oscar Bryan of the Scots College, and then on his outside for the Hills District is Taj Avery. And then comes another Westfields pair of Brett Matheson and Michael Matheson. That's the field for the men's 1500 metre sea race. So just a miss there at the pole vault. It looks like the men's triple jump competition might have concluded down there. Oh no, on the so the ladies now just warming up for their event at 8 p.m. So we'll swing around to the start line of the 1500 as they're getting ready for the first of our middle distance track races, with the next triple jump event to get underway at 8 o'clock.
Sometimes the shoes are a little bit more. I need you to turn around so I can look at Domino's or something instead.
So just getting themselves organised at the 1500 start. Not far away from a start in the men's C race. So just about right now for a start in our first 1500 metre event of the evening. This is the men's 1500 metre C race. So off they go in the men's 1500 metre C race. And from the inside out, we've got Hosking, Bateman, Yogasaran, Frankel, Sinibaldi, Robinson, Colbert, McManus, Casillas, Ard, Bryan, Avery, Matheson, and Michael Matheson on the outside of son Brett, or father Brett. And they swing around, that clock about 1 or 2 seconds slow on screen. So through the first 200 in about 35 seconds or so. And prominent early is Logan Hosking of the Blue Mountains, just with one of the Hills District athletes there for company. I think that's Taj Avery. And then sitting in behind him is Charlie Colbert of Riverview as they swing around. And come up to 400 now. Just over 70 seconds. So Hosking taking them around at a decent clip. One of the Scots athletes in there as well, that's Oscar Bryan. Comes in with a seed time of 5:14. But still a pretty significant lead pack here of about 8 of them as they head around to the 600. Be 2 laps on the board when they hit the line this time. So as they swing around now up to the 800, still this lead pack of about 8. Might just try and get in a bit tighter on them there as they go through with 700 metres to run. And heading up the back straight, still a little bit of shuffling there, but no real change in the order. Not a huge pace in this race either as they swing around to the 1,000 metres with 500 to run. Just a break starting to form slightly in the middle of the pack. But as they come up to the 1,000, it's Brett Matheson of Westfields and Hosking, who's been the early leader, and just now a change in the lead for the first time with York McManus of Sutherland just sitting on front of Oscar Bryan of the Scots College, that is, pardon me. So Hosking on his outside, and then Jacob Frankel also in there for Randwick Botany in a bit of an odd kit. So they pick up the bell and ticking through the 1,200 metres now. So we're just trying to get in a bit tighter on them there. So up the back straight, it's the Sutherland youngster York McManus, who's now got Oscar Bryan for company, and Bryan gets up to him and goes around the shoulder. The early leader, Hosking, still just hanging around there and starting to get up around the shoulder of Sutherland's McManus. You've also got Frankel there for Randwick Botany, just hanging on in 4th, but the early leader, Logan Hosking of the Blue Mountains, now gets back to the front of the field and has York McManus, who took the lead off him up the back straight, coming back at him. So it's McManus and Hosking as they come into the straight, and McManus at a huge run down the outside from Isaac Robinson of Hooked On Running, and Robinson has come from the clouds to take out the men's 1,500 metre sea race. A brilliant finish there and a well-timed run from Isaac Robinson. Keith Bateman, Venerable Masters athlete, over the line, the barefoot style, in about 4:50, as is Tony Sinibaldi. But young Isaac Robinson has absolutely come from the clouds to win the men's 1,500 metre sea race. How's he going with the camera? So the next race on the track will be the women's 1500 metre B race, and we're just slightly behind program here, so we'll move through them quickly. That's the start list on screen for those playing along at home, but we'll introduce them to you once they get underway. So off they go in the women's 1500 metre B race, and a big field here of 14. The inside out, Bronte Clark, Olivia Law, Layla White, Amelia Berringer, Lana Crawford, Amy Timms, Alyssa Heppel, Annabelle Garner, Sienna Moore, Monique Chavalejelik, Lily Malachiano of St George, Ayla Marshall White and Eliza Williams, both of Sydney Athletics Academy, and Bronte Scale. Many of these athletes having run at the State Open Championships on the weekend as well. And for St George, as we just zoom in a bit there, it's Layla White who is the early leader, just with Bronte Clark on her back. You've got Amy Timms of Cherrybrook there as well, and running quite wide is Annabelle Garner. So through the first 300 in about 53 seconds or so. And they'll swing around to the 400 and run through the first lap in just over 70 seconds. Going to be about a 73 by the time they get there, as we're going close and they work their way up the back straight, with Bronte Clark of Camden finding her way to the front of the field in the two-tone blue strip. Alyssa Heppel of St George in second behind her. And they work their way up the back. Amy Timms of Cherrybrook still hanging around. So they're just starting to open this field up a bit now. And they string out as they head up to the 500 metre mark, a third of the way through proceedings. And Bronte Clark, who comes in with a seed time of 5 minutes flat, runs through the 500 metres in about 1:56, so she's under tempo for that seed time at the moment. The two Sydney Athletics Academy athletes in there as well, Eliza Williams and Olivia Law. And you've also got Bronte Scahill in there of West in the black strip, so still a leading pack of 8 as they swing through with 2 laps to run. Remember, they're about 73 through 400, so this second lap has now slowed a little bit. And they're going to go through in about an 82nd lap there. So things slowing a fair bit under Clark's stewardship at the front of the field. And getting up onto her shoulder now from West is Bronte Scahill, who also comes in with a seed time right down around that 5 minute mark at 5:01. Alyssa Heppel, the run of the race at the moment for St George, she still sits in third with a seed time of 6:06, and just being joined now by the two Sydney Athletics Academy athletes in Olivia Law and Eliza Williams. So through the 1,000 metres now in about 3:20. So right on that 5 minute flat tempo. They'll need to pick it up slightly if they want to get under 5. But Clark still sits at the front of the field. Olivia Law just making a move now, as is Bronte Scahill, who tries to hit the front as they run through the bell in 3:40. And Scahill now finds her way to the front of the field with Bronte Clark for company. And Alyssa Heppel of St George in behind them. So a leading group of 3 starting to emerge at the front of the field. And they're led by Bronte Scahill up the back straight, with Clark and Timms trying to box on. But at the front of the field, Scahill has broken away from them and is probably on track here to get under her seed time of 5:01, with about 25 seconds on the clock left to do that. Into the straight with 4:37 on the clock. Some good runs coming in behind her. Olivia Law puts herself up in a second, and Layla White, it is, pardon me, of St George, who's boxing on strongly. But Bronte Scahill is going to be too good for them and get well under 5 minutes with that 4:53 performance, as the rest of the field starts to come in over the line now. So some good runs there as the rest of the field comes in. And you could see here there was a nice run in behind there for Olivia Law in particular, and Layla White, pardon me, it was for St George, not Alyssa Heppel, who I think gets up into third position, as we just bring in now Alyssa Heppel. So I finally call that right, and 5:53 on the clock for her. So nice running there in the women's 1500 metre C race, and we'll keep powering in the women's 1500 metre B race, pardon me. We'll keep powering through those and swing back around to the start as we have a look at the start list for the men's 1500 metre B. And we'll quickly run through that start list. So Guliami Boglani Bailu is on the inside of the track here. Dan Breen, Cam Kong next on the start list in behind him. Then you've got Zavin Santos, Dan Shoughton, Yogasaran of Kembla Joggers in 5, Cameron Dodds of the home club Bankstown in 6, Jack Wilkinson of Randwick Botany in 7, David Bogowski of Sutherland in 8, Olivia Baxter of Nowra in 9, Cooper Clugston goes on the outside in 10, Ewan Thompson of Sydney Athletics Academy in 11, Joel Harbour of Victory Runners sits on 12. On his outside, Matthew Radvin of Randwick Botany, Lockie Wheeler of Sutherland, and Riley Klein rounds out a big field of 15 in the men's 1500 metre B race. And they're in the hands of the starter over there. So off they go in the next event on the track, the men's 1500 metre B race. And a pretty quick start here as they sort themselves out early on. And the quick starters, Bailu, Cam Kong, Wheeler and Klein, and really stringing them out early in this men's 1500 metre B race as they head up the front straight for the first time. And we've got Joel Harbour of Victory Runners and Matthew Radvin of Randwick Botany just sitting in behind him. And then on the far outside, Riley Klein of the Newcastle Flyers in that white strip. Cam Kong of Sydney University is just tucked up on the inside, along with Yoggers Warren of Kembla Joggers, who's just finding himself in a bit of no man's land at the moment. Then you've got Cameron Dodds in behind them, and Lockie Wheeler of Sutherland, who's trying to cross the bridge from Dodds and get back onto this lead pack as they run through 400 in about 65 seconds. So pretty decent tempo on here in the men's 1500 metre B race. And Joel Harler of Victory Runners finds himself at the front of the field with Matt Radvin for company. And then sitting in behind him is Cam Kong of Sydney University as they swinged round to the 500 metre mark, third of the way through the run. And they're going to run through there, so we'll just lose our picture a bit, in about 100 seconds. So once again, on tempo for around that 5-minute pace, but you would expect it to pick up here. Riley Klein is still there for Newcastle Flyers, so lead pack of 4 as they go through with 2 laps to run. And Matt Radvin of Randwick Botany happy to do the leading work here as they swing around through 2 laps in 2:15. So running at about 77, 78 pace. Not crazy. And Riley Klein now finds his way to the front of the field to take up the running from Radvin. And just starting to open them up a little bit here. Cam Kong boxing on okay to the back of Radvin. And the early leader, Harler, just starting to struggle a bit as they come up to the 1,000 metres and run through in about 2:51. Bit of a move now coming from Cam Kong ahead of the bell of Sydney University, ranging up on the outside of Riley Klein of the Newcastle Flyers. And as they come down, they'll pick up the bell in about 3:07. And Klein just has a response there. So Cam Kong tried to get up onto his shoulder, but Klein had an answer. And as they run through 1200 in about 3:23, Riley Klein able to kick again down the back straight. Opens up a gap of about 2 metres or thereabouts on Cam Kong. And the early leaders, Radvin and Harler, are just fading off the back a little bit there. So Klein's really opened them up in this last 400 metres and has a lead of about 15-20 metres on Dan Breen Cam Kong of Sydney University, who's just peaking on his run now. Big run and coming late as well from Lockie Wheeler of Sutherland with a nicely timed performance. He's managed to crack his way into this leading group, and he's going to come down and take out 3rd position, but Riley Klein was too good for them. Cam Kong 2nd, then came Lockie Wheeler, Radvin and Harler, who did a lot of the early work. Managed to get home.
I've seen people run in Europe before. It's possible.
She did run. I did run in Germany, and then once we got to the ski slopes, got a little bit more tricky.
Too good for them there in the men's 1500 metre race. In the B was Riley Klein, so that'll be all for our 1500s, and the next events will be into the 8s. So we'll try to get through them fairly quickly as we've managed to catch up a little bit of time, so about 3 or 4 minutes behind timetable at the moment. And the men's 800 metre E-race being called to the start line. So we'll have a quick look at this start list on screen. And Darwish of Westfields goes on the inside. Ava Hergman of Sydney Athletics Academy goes in position number 2. Carter Bergen of the Hills District goes on his outside. Then comes Oscar Bryan of the Scots College. Cameron Poole of Illawong runs inside. Shay Casillas of Westfields. Henry Stewart of St Ignatius College. And Jamie Gould runs on the outside. So the men's E-race just getting themselves sorted out. And for those playing along at home, we're about 3 or 4 minutes behind the timetable order, as you can see there on screen. So just about to get underway with the men's 800 metre E-race. And that's what we've got for the rest of the evening. We'll build these all the way through to the men's and women's 800 metre A race events, and really pleasing to see that we're down to D races in the women's for the 800 and E races for the men. So good depth here in the 800s, and we'll round out the program this evening with the 800A and then the 1500A races. Just getting something sorted out down at the start for this men's 800 metre E-race. So off they go in this men's 800 metre E-race. And pretty quickly away on in the centre of the track there for the Hills District, as they sort themselves out down the back, and it's the St Ignatius College Review athlete Henry Stewart who's the quickest away, and he's very quickly off the front. There's a couple of later additions to this field by the looks of it that we don't have on our start list, but we'll make do. So sitting right at the front of the field is actually Cameron Poole of Illawong Roseby. He's broken away at the front. And then Henry Stewart comes in there behind him. So enormous gap at the front of this field. Then comes one of the Scots athletes. That's Oscar Bryan, Scots College. I think he's already had a go in the 1500 tonight. And then one of the Westfields athletes in behind him. Looks to be Shay Casillas, but up the back it's all about Cameron Poole of Illawong Roseby. Comes in with a seed time of 2:20, which should notionally only be 2 or 3 seconds faster than some of the other athletes in this race, but it's running better than that at the moment. And Cameron Poole swinging into the straight. and going to be too good for them. So Cameron Poole with Henry Stewart in behind him. Bit of a race going on for third with Carter Bergen, that is sitting in third, but Henry Stewart good enough to take out second, Carter Bergen in third. Then comes Brian with Shea Casillas in behind him, and Ave Hergeman next over the line. But it was all one story out the front. And coming into the straight, it was all Cameron Poole, and this was the race in behind him for second and third. Not much of a race for second either, actually, with Henry Stewart comfortably in there. And good performance there from Adnan Darwish as well, a T20 athlete for Westfields, who comes over the line at about 3:13 or thereabouts. So some nice running there. And that rounds out the men's 800 metre E race. So next race on the track will be the men's 800 metre D race, and then we'll get into the women's events. Charlie Colbert of St Ignatius College, Riverview, in the middle of the track. Then comes Cooper Rob Jackson of Barker. Prem Hegeman of Sydney Athletics Academy next. Then comes Cameron Blohm of the Hills District. Brendan Armstrong next on the track for Cherrybrook. Archie Daly of Randwick Botany. Logan Dixon for the Blue Mountains. Ellis Hayden for Scots. And Zach Tideman for Katoomba rounds out the field as they get ready for the men's 800 metre D race.
Maybe she did, but we're Brian.
So not far from a start now in the men's 800 metre D race.
Danny, what's up? Danny.
So off they go in our next track race, the men's 800 metre D. And a pretty quick start on the outside by Logan Dixon of the Blue Mountains. So we just saw in that 1500 metres race, so plenty of athletes backing up here from the 1500 not very long ago. But in the inside of the track, Prem Hegeman of Sydney Athletics Academy finds himself at the front of the field. Then comes Cherrybrook's Brendan Armstrong, who comes in with a seed time of 2:11, the fastest in the race. And then Randwick Botany just sitting in behind him. That's Archie Daly. So they've really strung it out here in the early stages. Next on the track is young Cameron Blohm of the Hills District. And then next, Logan Dixon, as I said, on the quick backup. Then got Cooper Rob Jackson, the T38 athlete for Barker College. But as they come through, it's still Prem Hegeman at the front of the field. The real race at the moment going on in behind him for second, with Daly and Armstrong battling it out, and Logan Dixon is trying to cross the bridge and get up into this battle for the podium places with Cameron Blohm for company. And the moves now starting to come up the back, with Archie Daly of Randwick Botany now getting around the shoulder of Hegeman, and he moves into the lead of this men's 800 metre D race, with Cherrybrook's Brendan Armstrong there for company, and Logan Dixon boxing on strongly. Cameron Blohm starting a run now for the Hills District as well. And Cooper Rob Jackson just out of shot on the right. Logan Dixon coming with a big run for a man backing up, and Cameron Blohm in behind him as well. But at the front, it's all Archie Daly. Hegeman's trying to come back at him. Daly boxing on strongly, and Daly will have enough to come home. Cameron Blohm and Logan Dixon both with big runs down the outside, but the order doesn't change. Armstrong, Cooper Rob Jackson in behind them, and then comes the rest of the field through the line. But a good finish there in the straight as we swing back and have a look at the replay and look for the runs in here behind them, because that's where they were coming. Cameron Blome there and Logan Dixon finishing very strongly for a man that just run a 1500. And some good runs in behind as well. So just about having a look back over at the triple jump as well, where the women's event is underway, as they get them sorted out on the track for the women's 800 metre D race. And we'll have a quick look at that start list as well. And that's it there on screen. So small field here with Alyssa Heppel on the inside, Emma Lubke of Trinity next with Lana Crawford of Nowra, Eva McKenzie of the Hills District, Ariel Stevens of Nowra, and Maya Bauer of Illawong rounding out a small field in the women's 800 metre D race. So away they go, and pretty quickly out of 4 was Eva McKenzie of the Hills District. You can take Lorna Crawford off the list, she's not on the start line. And also Emma Lubke of Trinity pretty quickly away. And on the far outside for Illawong, Maya Brewer will head up the back straight in the lead after the cross. They run through the first 200 pretty speedy in about 36 seconds or so. So this field being strung out early with Emma Lubke, who started quickly in the first 100 metres, already falling off the back. Eva McKenzie of the Hills District is just trying to grab the back of Maya Bauer. And as they come into the straight for the first time, there is a clear leading pack of 2. With Ariel Stevens, Ali Stevens in behind for company. But at the moment, it's all McKenzie and Bauer at the front of the field, and McKenzie now with a seed time of 2:36. Swings around the shoulder of Bauer and takes up the lead of the race. This rate she'll be running well under that 2:36 mark. And heading up the back straight, she begins to extend her lead, and Bauer not able to go with her at this stage of proceedings. The real racing at the moment going on for the minors, but as is often the case in these graded races, really starting to be strung out here. So Eva McKenzie swings into the straight for the Hills District, comes in with a seed time of 2:36, and with 2:12 on the clock, a good chance of running under that mark. In behind her, Ellie Stevens of Nowra, and Maya Bauer, the early leader, just starting to peak on her run. And then comes Emma Lubke, but too good for them is McKenzie, who comes over the line in 2:32, runs under her seed time. Ellie Stevens next over the line in 2:36, and she'll be right about bang on that. Emma Lubke over the line for Trinity as well. And into the straight is Alyssa Heppel of St George And with a seed time of 2:58, she'll come in underneath that in about 2:56, 2:57. So a nice run there from Alyssa Heppel of St George. Swing back to the women's triple jump. They're already getting ready on the track for the men's C race in the 800 metres. And as the cones on the runway there, we'll have a quick look at this start list. So Nick McNally of the Hills District goes on the inside of the track. On his outside, Jake Astle, also of Hills. Matt Harrigan of Winston Hills next. Then comes Justin Brown of Campbelltown. Blake Charman of Sutherland. Then Ben Long of Westfields. Toby Dybel of Nowra. Jed Mayer of Delta. And Aaron Houston comes all the way from Bathurst Athletics to compete here at the Milers. So they're just heading out there now as they get organised. So we just catch up here. So back to about 3 minutes behind schedule. This race due to get under way at 8:17 and just passing through 8:20. So about right now for a start in the men's 800 metre C race. So off they go, and a pretty quick start there from Campbelltown's Justin Brown, who's already picked up the stagger on Charman on his outside. Also using the inside alley is Nick McNally of Hills District, and he'll hunt up and try to get up onto the back of Justin Brown. And from the far outside from Nowra, I think that's Toby Dybel who's hit the front of the field, and he'll lead them up through 200 as they run through there. 27 seconds, so not messing about at all at the front of the field is Toby Dybel of Nowra, and he's got Justin Brown of Campbelltown for company, with a bit of a gap back then to Blake Charman of Sutherland. And sitting in behind him is Aaron Houston of Bathurst. Plenty of these athletes also went around at the weekend at the New South Wales Championships. They come through the bell in about 59 seconds or so. So all these athletes with seed times around 2:03 to 2:05, and they're on track to run under those at the moment. So up the back straight for the last time. Dybel still at the front of the field, and now come the challengers. So Justin Brown ranging up onto the shoulder, and Brown will go past them as they head up the back. And he's got Blake Charman for company for Sutherland, and Charman now trying to go around the pair of them, but just able to hold his position on the inside as Justin Brown for the time being. But Charman now hits the gas with 200 to run and starts to break open this field. Justin Brown sitting in second, and Dybel in behind them in third. But the move came down the back straight, and Charman managed to open up these two youngsters and is going to put them to the sword. The race behind really for the second position between Brown and Dybel, and Brown will take that out. But Charman too good for them. Some good runs in behind as well, led by Jed Mayer of Delta, and they all get over the line pretty comfortably. So the real runs in behind, but at the front of the field, when Charman went up the back straight, that was all she wrote. So that rounds out the men's 800 metre C race. And next event on the track will be the women's 800 metre C race. We'll have a look at that start list now. So Olivia pardon me. So we'll just switch over. Olivia Kalmovsky of St George runs inside her teammate Lily Malachino. Then comes Anais Biassi of Sydney Athletics Academy, and Sienna Ship of the Blue Mountains. Caitlin Roach of Sydney University is next on the list in 5, just running inside Ella Plummer of Sutherland. Ava Gray of Sydney Pacific next on the list, and Keely Brown of the Blue Mountains rounds out the field on the outside. That's the start list for the women's 800 metre sea race here at the Milers. So off they go, underway. Some deep fields here in the women's races, going down to the D's in the Milers. And Lily Mollicino very quickly out of the gate for St George, as is Biassi and Ship on their outside. And as they hunt up the back straight, I think that's Sienna Ship in the centre of the track who's taken up the leading position. So they run through 200 in about 32 seconds, so really getting on the bike here, going at about 2:08 pace for a field that's mainly in the high 220s as far as seed times go. So expect this to slow up a little bit as they swing into the straight for the first time. That's what's happened. So Sienna Ship still at the front of the field for the Blue Mountains, and then sitting in behind her is Biassi of Sydney Athletics Academy. Tucked up on the rail is Ava Gray of Sydney Pacific. But a big group of them still in this as they come through the 400 metres in about 70 seconds or thereabouts. Ella Plummer also prominent, and trying to get around the outside is Caitlin Roach of Sydney University. So Ship's skipped away a little bit at the front. Roach starting to round them up as they head up to the 500, but a chase pack of 5 athletes sitting off the back of Sienna Ship at the moment. And we'll see if the runs start to come now. Biassi leads them, and just as I say that, Plummer gets around her shoulder for Sutherland, and Caitlin Roach of Sydney University also trying to go with them. So Ship's still out the front with a gap of only about a metre or two, and that's starting to dwindle as the rest of this field goes after them, but still 6 in it as they swing through 200 to run in 1:51. Definitely these athletes on for PBs and breaking seed times here. And 6 of them still covered by a blanket with 150 metres to run. They're just starting to get opened up now, but they're all still there. Plummer starting to come into the front of the running, just gets around the shoulder of Ship. Then comes Mollicino down the outside for Sydney University. Roach still in there as well, but Plummer hits the front with 50 to go. Mollicino's trying to get after her, and then comes Ship, who's just fading. But Plummer was the best of them in the straight, and Plummer takes it out from Mollicino, then Ship, then Roach, then comes Biassi, then Gray, and Kalamakovas managed to box on strongly late in the piece, but a very competitive event there in the final 200 metres or so. There were still 6 of them in it as they swung around into the straight, and Ella Plummer was the best of the runs, and she manages to take out the women's 800 metre sea race. You can see the replay, Plummer just emerging from the pack as they worked their way into the straight, and a nice run in behind from Mollicino as well. So just getting organised now for the next track race, which will be the men's 800 metre B race. Another full field there of 10. Lachlan Harkness of Camden on the inside of Jack Muller for the Scots College. You've then got Harrison Jerd for Sutherland, Ryan Kuzner of Bankstown, Ed Pubrick of the Scots College runs inside Evan Dransfield of St Ignatius College Review. Patrick Carolyn of Kembla Joggers next on the list in 7. Axel Brunch wears hip number 8 for Ride. Riley Gould is down as an independent athlete in position number 9, and Cohen Thompson Andrews of St George will round out the field for the men's 800 metre B race. So off they go in the men's 800 metre B race, getting serious in the program now. And pretty quickly away for Scots is Jack Muller on the inside. And he'll work his way up to have a share of the lead. Harkness of Camden trying to use his speed on the inside, and that's Pat Carolyn of Kembla Joggers on the outside, who's trying to get into a position of prominence. Then comes Cohen Thompson Andrews of St George, and he's managed to put himself into second position. But the boys spinning up the pace here early on, and Pat Carolyn, that is, at the front of the field, who takes them through 300 metres, and Cooper Thompson Andrews in behind them. Riley Gould also in next to them. And then boxed up is Jack Muller, who now just shoots himself to the outside in the shades, looking for racing room. Alex Brunch sitting in behind them as well as they run through 400 metres in 57 seconds. It's Paddy Carolyn on the front of the field. Jack Muller of Scots with the shades now gets up onto second position and onto his back. Little gap then starting to open up to Thompson Andrews of Saints in behind them, and Riley Gould has his back. So as they work up the back straight, the move now starting to come from Muller, who tries to get around the shoulder and does so of Paddy Carolyn, and a big run coming in behind them from the Riverview athlete, Evan Dransfield, who now finds himself at the front of the field with 200 metres to run as they run through in 89 seconds. Dransfield coming in with a sub 2 minute seed time of 1:59, and he's still got Muller for company, who comes in with a 2:01. So into the straight as we tick through 1:42. This should be well under 2 minutes for Dransfield, and he's going to lead them down the straight. The field sorted itself out now, but all eyes on the clock for Dransfield, who's going to run a big personal best at the front of the field. Comes through in 1:55, and then Muller in for 2 minutes. And all these top three going to be under the 2 minute mark, with Paddy Carolyn just getting on the back of Muller. So the top three will all come in under 2 minutes. But in the straight, he was too good for them. And Evan Dransfield, I fancy, runs a big personal best there to take out the men's 800 metre B race. And some nice runs in behind as well. So as we mentioned, all three of the athletes likely through sub 2, and the rest of the field boxing on quite closely in behind them as they get themselves sorted out for the women's 800 metre B race. And we'll run through the start list. So Madison Ross goes for Sydney Athletics Academy in 1. Ashlyn Kelly of the Hills District in 2. Amelia Williams on her outside for run crew. And comes Olivia Blome for the Hills District. Zaweb Dawish of Westfields next inside of Philippa Quarrell for Sydney Athletics Academy. Zayla Troffer of Epping next on the list inside of Ella Fennell. And Isabel Chudley, both of Sydney Athletics Academy. So 4 in the green to line up in this event. And Anna Duncan is next on the list for Nowra as they get themselves sorted out on the start line and have their run-throughs. So off they go in the women's 800 metre B race, and a strong field here, and pretty quickly out of 4 is Olivia Blome of the Hills District, and she's skipping away early here as they head up the back straight, and she'll take a couple of metres lead in at the cross. Bit of a battle going on in behind them to get positions. Troffer of Epping getting up next in the run, and then comes Westfield's Darwish, who sits herself in 3rd. Then comes another one of the Hills athletes in behind them. That's Ashlyn Kelly. So that's your leading pack of 4 or 5 at the moment as they swing around into the straight for the first time, and Blome has a commanding lead. Leading pack here, about 8 or 9 still in it, with Ella Fennell of Sydney Athletics Academy just starting to fade off the back a bit, and a couple of the other Athletics Academy athletes running together strongly. And Philippa Quarrell now gets around the shoulder of Blome to take up the lead of the race for the Sydney Athletics Academy. Darwish still there in a prominent position along with Bloem, and a gap now just starting to open up back to Troffer and Kelly. So a leading group of 3 emerging here. Kelly trying to get around the shoulder of Troffer and get herself onto the back of this leading pack. As they head up for the back straight for the last time, it's Philippa Quarrell at the front of the field, and Olivia Bloem in behind her, and Bloem now getting up to the shoulder and reclaims the lead of the race that she had for the first 400 metres. Sitting in behind her is Darwish of Westfields, who still now finally makes the move around Quarrell, and Darwish gets out after the leader, and Darwish goes around the shoulder now and hits the lead of the race from Bloem and Quarrell as they come into the straight. Bloem just starting to tie up on a run as they hit 100 metres to go. Quarrell not done yet, ranges up into the straight. Darwish still leads them. Bloem and Quarrell having the battle for second, and Kelly next in the run. But too good for them at the front of the field is Darwish of Westfields, who comes home and takes out the race in 2:19. Quarrell good enough to get up to second from Bloem. And then comes Isabel Chudley next over the line as the rest of the field comes in the women's 800 metre B race. But too good at the front of the field was Darwish, who went with about 200, 250 to run and was just too good for them. Quarrell strong to hold on for second, and Bloem ran prominently throughout after having led the first 400. So getting serious now into the final 4 events on the program, with the men's and women's 800 metre A races, and then will come the 1500 metre A races as well. So we'll have a look at the start list, and we'll be kicking things off with the men. Rob Dickinson runs on the inside for Bankstown. Then comes Asher Thomasu of Randwick Botany. Jack Wade next for Trinity. Then comes Oscar Percy of Sydney University. Cameron Musgrove makes the trip up from Canberra, and he's got Tom March for company for Kembla Joggers on his outside. Jaden Gill next on the list for Balmain. Michael King of Trinity, and Hayden Brown of the home club Bankstown rounds out the field for the men's 800 metre A race in what should be a cracking field. Plenty of these athletes went around at the state championships on the weekend. And we get some rematches here tonight in this 800A race. So getting themselves organised now. It's a big field of 9, with Gill and King sharing a lane on the outside there. But just about right to go now for a start in the men's 800A. Off they go. It's a good field. Plenty of these did battle at the state championships on the weekend, and they have another crack here tonight. And a very quick start from Dickinson on the inside, and also Tom March of Kembla running strongly. Then comes Oscar Percy of Sydney University tucking himself up in there. Michael King of Trinity also prominent, but plenty in it as they go through 200 metres quite quickly, 27 seconds. So really getting on the bike here early in the men's 800 metre A race. And Rob Dickinson is at the front of the field. Plenty of these athletes around the 150, 151 mark. You've also got Jaden Gill of the Blue Mountains there in the orange, and Cam Musgrove in the black on the outside for Nowra. For Bankstown, pardon me. So up the back straight and up through the bell, pardon me, in 56 seconds. Dickinson still at the front of the field. Then comes Musgrove and March. Then you've got Percy for Sydney University, Gill next in the run, and King for Trinity hanging around. So still 6 of them in it as they head up the back straight for the last time. Musgrove tries to make his move from the nation's capital, up around the shoulder of Dickinson, but Dickinson with a response for the time being. The run's coming in behind, but nobody able to emerge yet. Michael King probably the best of them at the moment, and also in there is Jack Wade, so 2 Trinity athletes prominent. Gill just trying to fade off the back off the back now, as is Percy, but swinging into the straight. There's still 5 or 6 of them in with a shout here. Jack Wade finds himself at the front of the field for Trinity, and he's got his teammate Michael King coming at him. Oscar Percy down the outside for Sydney University, but Jack Wade with a breakout performance here at the front of the field and takes it out just over 151. I fancy Tom March in for second, and then comes Oscar Percy. But Jack Wade, who came in with a seed time of 153, has run comfortably under that mark. And as he swung into the straight, he really emerged as the man to beat. And they weren't able to come at him. Percy and March both tried. So did his clubmate Michael King. But too good for them was Jack Wade for Trinity. And he takes the win in the men's 800 metre A race. So a fine performance there, and we'll move quickly to the women's event. And we'll have a look at a start list here, which is a big one of 11. And from the inside out, Giselle Enlin of the Sydney Athletics Academy. Then comes Rosalie Floyd-Kerr of Illawong Revesby, Charlotte O'Dowd of UTS Norths next on the list. Then comes Emma Whedon of West Bromwood Pool of Newcastle. The former Australian champion Laura Roth runs in the centre of the track off the back of a fantastic battle with Georgia Wassell at the state championships on the weekend. Emily Sun next on the list for UTS Norths. Then comes Katia Bjorkman of Sydney Athletics Academy. Jean Stump next for Randwick. Mabel Dukes of Run Crew. Marley McKenzie for the Hills District. And Alana Lally runs on the far outside of the track in a stacked women's 800 metre A race here at the Milers. So right to go for a start now in a stacked women's 800 metre A race. So off they go. This should be a cracker. Look for Roth in the centre of the track, and the former national champion out very quickly. She showed in the heats on Friday night at the state championship. She was keen to put some times on the board, and she's out very fast here, as is Rosalie Floyd-Kerr of Illawong in the centre of the track. But Roth is going to tow them around here. Lally on the outside for Norths, who ran into the bronze medal position at the state championships on the weekend, hunting up the back of Roth. And here they are through 200 very quickly in about 29 seconds. And as the former national champion looks to run her way into the domestic season, there is absolutely no prisoners being taken here at the Milers. And she has broken this field apart in the first 300 metres. So Roth and Lally at the front of the field have opened up a gap of about 10 metres or so to the next athlete in the run, which is Mabel Dukes of Run Crew, and then comes Sun and Floyd Kerr. But it's a race of two out the front, and Laura Roff has gone through 400 metres in 60 seconds dead. So the former national champion showing her class here at the Milers as she looks to target the Australian Championships to be run in Brisbane later this month. And she's looking to put down a statement and a marker and have another hard hit out here at the Milers. She's off the front. Lally, the bronze medalist from the state championships over the weekend, sits in second, and the run's coming in behind her with Emily Sun leading the chasers. And they're starting to get up to the back of Lally, who bravely went after Roff at the front of this race. But the former Australian champion at this distance is swinging around into the straight, and she ticks through 150 as she ranges up 100 after going through the first 400 in 60 seconds dead. And this is going to be a very fast time for Laura Roff as she makes her mark ahead of the Australian Championships, just ticking through 2 minutes. But this is world-class running. 2:06 at the front for Laura Roff. And then comes Lally, backing up her bronze medal with a strong performance here, 2:11, and a strong run in behind from Emma Whedon, who will pick up third from Sun, and then Mabel Dukes. But the former Australian champion, after having an interrupted preparation with injury and having to miss some racing late in the year, not least of which the Albie Thomas, is able to come through and take out this 800 here in about 2:06, a class performance at the front of the field. You can see here the runs in behind for third. It was a bit of a story of two races, it must be said. But some strong runs in behind, and great to see running of that calibre here at the Milers. So we'll head over to the 1500 metre starts, and we'll have the women's event first over there. And here's the start list. It's another big field of 17. Rachel McCormick for Bankstown on the inside. Sienna Scahill of West into Emily Sun of Norths, although we just saw her run on the 800, so I'm not sure we'll see her back up. Amelia Thornwaite of Sydney Athletics Academy. Alexa Kalamakovas of Illawong in 5. Lila Rigby of Sydney Athletics Academy next on the list inside of Celeste Carolyn of Kembla. Emily Chudley of Sydney Athletics Academy runs inside Ash Gardner of Kembla Joggers. Olivia Civilis of Athletics Wollongong next on the list inside of Emily Bennett of Orange. Michaela McLean of Kembla then runs inside Anna Cole Cohen of Randwick Botany. Imogen Howard next for Sydney Athletics Academy inside of Ruby McPhillips of Kembla. Claudia Meeker of the Blue Mountains with Erin Blundell on the far outside of the track, who comes in as one of the top seeds here for Sydney University. That's a start list for the women's 1500 metres. And they're getting themselves organised over at the back straight. So back onto scheduled start time here. We actually managed to pick up some time and find ourselves 5 minutes early. But if they're all over there, I'm sure we'll get underway. It's not too far away from a start here, just a couple of minutes until scheduled start time. And just confirmation there of Laura Roff's winning time, so confirmed as a 2:06.26 class running from the former national champion. Alana Lally next over the line backs up her bronze medal from the weekend with a 2:12.20, and Emma Whedon 2:15.69. And a nice performance from Jack Wade to take out that men's 800 for Trinity in 1:51.37. Tom March next over the line in 1:52. And Oscar Percy with a 1:52.8 for Sydney University to take out third position. So just about right to go now in one of the co-main events of the night, the women's 1500 metre A race. Off they go. And very quickly out of the gates is Erin Blundell, that is on the far outside for Sydney University. And it looks like she'll have some company. I think that might be our Claudia Mika with her of the Blue Mountains. Might also be Sienna Scale actually. So we'll just check that as they swing into the straight for the first time. And it is indeed Erin Blundell for the All Whites of Sydney University at the front of the field, and it is indeed Claudia Mika who sits in beside her, in behind her, ranging up to her shoulder now. Then comes Imogen Howard next on the track, and Ruby McPhillips for Kembla sitting fourth in the run. There is Sienna Scahill getting up on her shoulder for Wests, and next in the run is Lila Rigby, who now just gets onto the back of McPhillips as they swing around to 400, and Blundell will take them through in about 69. So a decent clip at the front of the field, and a bit like that women's 800, a leading pack of two emerging here with Blundell and Mika. Blundell comes in with a seed time of 4:25 and Mika around 4:30. Sienna Scale next in the run at 4:27 as a seed time. And Lila Rigby also hanging about there, as is Imogen Howard for Sydney Athletics Academy. But through 500 in 1:48, and they just start to get strung out here. So Blundell from Mika from Scale, and a little bit of a gap back then to Imogen Howard of Sydney Athletics Academy, who's running with Ruby McPhillips of Kembla. Then comes Lila Rigby. But the whole field covered by about 50 metres here, and Blundell has really strung them out at the front and takes them through 2:21 through the 800. So that second lap, a little bit slower, but holding the tempo pretty strongly at the front. And Mika's getting pulled along to a nice time here by Erin Blundell, seasoned open athlete, been running at this level for a very long time now. Claudia Mika not going away here by any means for the Blue Mountains, and they're about to run through the 1,000 metres in bang on 3 minutes. So Blundell doing a lovely job at the front here. They go through 3:01, so they're right on that 4:30 tempo. And Mika now starting to range up to the shoulder of Blundell. We'll see when she times her run. Porciana Scales in a bit of no woman's land at the moment. And through the bell in 3:17. So Blundell trying to lay down a 4:30 marker, you would imagine here, as she also builds up into the peak of the domestic season to come in Brisbane. And she runs through 1200 in 3:36. So fine running at the front here from Erin Blundell. Claudia Meeker still absolutely there and hanging around for the Blue Mountains, and Meeker now ranges up to the shoulder of Blundell, who you have to feel a little bit sorry for, having led every step of the way in this women's 1500 metres. But the young legs of Claudia Meeker, with about 10 years the junior of Blundell, showing their worth at the moment. And she's going to swing into the straight with a lead of about 10 metres or so. See if Blundell's got a response. And all eyes on the clock here. We'll see whether they can get under the 4:30 mark. And Claudia Meeker with a fine run used Blundell as a bunny for 1200 and comes home and goes sub 4:30. Well done, Claudia Meeker, and a great run from Erin Blundell to do all the work out the front. And she'll take out second for Sydney University. Scahill had a bit of a lonely race in third. Nice close there from Celeste Carolyn. And then comes Ruby McPhillips and Michaela McLean, both of Kembla joggers, as the rest of the field filters in now. But this was the move up the back straight from Claudia Meeker with about 250 metres left to run that really broke Blundell after Blundell had done a solid 1,250 metres worth of work on the front. But good tactical racing from Meeker. Didn't take any of the leading, let Blundell do all the work, and was good enough to run past her late in the piece. So we'll get ready for the men's 1500 metre A race as well. And we'll have a look at the start list for that event. From the inside out, Kane Shields of the Blue Mountains. Then comes Lockie Townsend of Sydney University. Finley McPhillips next on the start list for Kembla joggers. Zachary Johnson of Run Crew had a fine run at the state championships on the weekend. Alex Talbot for Randwick Botany just runs inside Caleb Renciaka of Newcastle Flyers. Macleay Kesby next on the list for Kembla runs inside Will Hayden of the Scots College. Then comes Ben Bishop, Sydney University. He's doing the pacing duties here tonight, trying to take some of these athletes through sub 4. Cohen Morgan of Maitland in hip number 10. Isaac Holberton of Melbourne University next on the list in 11. Miles Carson of the Scots College in 12. Charlie Doherty of Bankstown next on the list in 13. Jonathan Meeker of Randwick Botany in 14. Harry McGill of Bankstown in 15. And Thomas Moorcroft of the Canning District rounds out a big field of 16 in this men's 1500 metre A race. Last race of the night for the Milers. And they're in the hands of the starter. So called to the line now, and just about right to get underway for the last race of the night, the men's 1500. So off they go, and a clean line away for one of the co-main events. And very quickly out at the front, Kane Shields for the Blue Mountains. And now swinging around them is Jonathan Meeker of Randwick Botany, and Harry McGill finds his way to the front of the field for the home club in Bankstown. and he will take up proceedings here on the front of Jonathan Meeker of Randwick Botany, Kane Shields. Then tucked in behind them, Thomas Moorcroft of Canning sits on the outside on the hip and shoulder of Meeker. And then tucked in behind them is Finley McPhillips of Kembla as well. Lockie Townsend also in there for Sydney University. And you can see Ben Bishop in hitting on a 9 there, driving a bit of a 4-minute bus, so doing a bit of a pacing job for that second group in this race. But through 400 in 61, so taking them through pretty swiftly. McGill in about 350 pace. So a decent clip being delivered at the front by McGill. Finley McPhillips now up to his shoulder with Meeker and Shields, and then comes Moorcroft, and Lockie Townsend is the last of that lead pack of 6. So the boys happy to share the work here with Finley McPhillips onto the front as they run through 500 and 133. So still around that 450 pace. Meeker with a lovely uninterrupted run on the outside. McGill just giving himself some racing room. Shields and Townsend both tucked up in the middle there, and Moorcroft happy to let them all go around. And you've got Ben Bishop there driving this second pace bus around the 4-minute mark for plenty of these junior athletes, and he's trying to do the job and tow them to a time. So they went through 61 the first 400, and now 62 there for the second lap as McGill takes back up the lead of the race from McPhillips. So looks like a bit of a coordinated effort here at the front of the field to get them around that 345 mark. Most of these athletes around the 350 seed time, with only Kane Shields coming in with a sub 350 seed time of 348. So McGill to the front of the field and takes them through up to the 1,000 metre marks. Then comes McPhillips, Moorcroft, Shields, Townsend, and Meeker starting to fade. So 2:36 on the clock as they swing through the 1,000. And McGill doing the honours at the front. McPhillips sitting in behind him. Moorcroft looks pretty comfortable there in the run. So does Kane Shields, who hasn't done any work but is just tucked up in behind them. Lockie Townsend trying to get around the shoulder as well. And Meeker's fallen off. So we've got a lead pack of 5 at the front. 61-62 for the first 2 laps. And Harry McGill takes them around now in about another 62. So 3:05 through the 1,200 with McGill at the front. Then comes Moorcroft and McPhillips, Townsend and Shields just sitting there at the back waiting to time his run. But McGill still doing all the work up the back straight. Him and McPhillips have shared all the hard yards at the front. Moorcroft for Canning next in the run. And the move starting to come now with Townsend working his way into the race, and Kane Shields still hanging around ominously at the back there, but McGill still at the front. Here comes Moorcroft lifting for Canning down the outside. Townsend not done yet either. Phillips coming in, and Kane Shields makes his run all the way out in lane 3, but Moorcroft striding away at the front for Canning, and they're not going to have an answer for him. Shields with a big run into second, but too good for them at the front was Moorcroft, came through in 250. Then came Shields and Townsend, Finley McPhillips. McGill faded slightly, but did all the work early. Then comes Meeker, and Ben Bishop has managed to get most of these kids down in the low 4 minutes. So a good pacing job from him there for Sydney University, and getting a lot of these youngsters under that, or down around close to that 4-minute mark. So a nice job there from Benny Bishop. But for those watching at home, here's the replay. Moorcroft really ranged up to them in the straight and managed to get past them. A nice run down the outside for Kane Shields. And Lockie Townsend was solid to hang on for third. Finley McPhillips and Harry McGill had to settle for 4th and 5th after doing most of the work. Jonathan Meeker got home just over 4 minutes, I fancy, and Ben Bishop brought a train of them through under about 4:05 in a nice little service to the community there. But that rounds out proceedings here for the Milers meet 5 of the series of 6, and we have the 6th and final meet of the series due to get underway on the 23rd of March. So join us for that one if you haven't entered already. We'll see you at the 6th and final meet of the New South Wales Milers on the 23rd of March. For anyone that hasn't yet, make sure you book your tickets for the Sydney Track Classic to be held at Sydney Olympic Park this Saturday night. The fastest man in the world, Fred Curley, will be running 400 metres, one of the only men to ever have broken 10 seconds, 20 seconds and 44 for the 400, and he will be going around in the 400 on Saturday night at the Sydney Track Classic. There's also the Australian 3,000 metre championships with Bankstown's very own Jess Hull due to get underway, and confident of a quick time coming there in the Australian Championship as well as the men's event. So make sure you're out at SOPAC on Saturday night for the Sydney Track Classic. But for the time being, we'll say goodnight from the Milers, and we'll see you at the 6th and final meet of the series on the 23rd of March.